Okay, so a very good evening to all our attendees and viewers who are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. A very warm welcome to our Author Saga series. A quick recap for those of you who are new to Pick a Book. Pick a Book is all about reading and more reading and inculcating the habit of reading, research, and presenting the summary of it in our regular meeting sessions. Creating a better world by changing the sense of self through the habit of reading is the vision of Pick a Book. Currently, Pick a Book markets inspiring presence in four countries: Sri Lanka, India, Singapore, and UK, with over 1,200 plus readers, 18 plus regions, and 100,000 plus people inspired through our sessions, all in just a span of 1.5 years. Pick a Book continues to spread its wings across the globe, and we have come up with this beautiful initiative, a brand of our own called Author Saga series, wherein the authors can reach their readers and individuals with like-minded interests. And authors can also discuss key insights of their books, and readers can have this wonderful opportunity to know more about the book from the author himself. So today we have with us, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Lalith Edirisinghe with his wonderful book Logistics, which is a translation of a Simhalese book into English. So very warm welcome, Professor.
Yeah, um, good evening from Sri Lanka. It's 7:37 in Sri Lanka, Colombo.
Yeah, it's the same here.
Right.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's get to know about Professor Edirisinghe and the author of this book a little more in detail. So, the Professor Lalith has obtained his Doctor of Engineering degree and a PhD major in Transportation Planning and Logistics Management, offered by Dalian Maritime University. He has done postgraduate in business management from University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, and MBA in international trade and logistics. He authored two science books on logistics and shipping, introducing two new theories in transportation. And he is also was instrumental in establishing logistics in school curriculum in 2017 as a secretary and chairman, Awards and Scholarship Subcommittee of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Sri Lanka branch. He led the first ever National Logistics Award ceremony and presently works as the chairman of panel of judges in National Logistics Awards 2021, organized by Sri Lanka Freight Forwarders Association. He was also instrumental in declaring National Day for Logistics in Sri Lanka through amalgamating logistics as an indispensable part of Ministry of Transport in Sri Lanka. I'm very great to hear that, Mr. Professor Lalith, and once again, a very warm welcome to all this Saga series.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so to start with, I would like to know, are you an avid reader?
Well, yes, because I've been, um, reading throughout my, as a small kid, I started. This is how it happens earlier in Sri Lanka for government schools. So during this period, he used to bring some about 30 books from the library, small books, right? And so I start that and start reading that and complete that 30 books during that 1 month holiday period. So that was the beginning, and that it became habit, and then whatever the books I got, and then when once you finish it, then if you don't have another book, then you read it over and over again.
Yeah,
So now I realize that when you read for the second third time, you get more and more knowledge, even
yes,
if it is a very basic one, you get different kind of taste there. So that
true.
is how I see the reading.
Yeah, great. Those were actually golden days, in fact, I would say, because, we used to enjoy, I mean, the people, they used to enjoy every small thing, every small thing is a precious for them. But in this
Yeah, Yeah,
yeah, in the present world, that's not the situation. So everything is ready-made, available in platter. So they don't
yeah.
really
Yeah, you
value.
have more than what we want sometimes. This is
Yeah,
the problem. Those days, even if you find a small piece of paper,
exactly.
that was wrapped something, brought home,
Yeah,
then you start reading that, because that
exactly.
kind of lack of materials for reading those days.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, how did your journey as a writer start? Was it your childhood dream, or you just developed it somewhere in between?
Well, basically, I had the dream of writing, but after start writing couple of books, I realized that it I can't write basically. I realized that I'm not an author, so
Okay.
I had to give it up. That was, but those were kind of novels and sort of things,
Okay.
because when you read something, you feel like you also writing, but I realized that I'm not good in that. So I had to stop, and then I stopped that. But later, when it really started, the lecturing, and then when I really want to prepare lessons for students and in different kind of people, and then you start learning, teaching methods and all that, then I got the habit of try to explain someone in a way that he can read it. Looking at from his angle, then you start delivering something. Then that kind of thing, I think, really worked. So then people, those who came for my lectures, they appreciated the way that I lecture. Then that was actually the beginning, I think, to writing a textbook sort of a thing.
Okay.
So then I thought that I'm not good at the writing novels, that kind of a thing. But writing textbook, I think I realized that I have some method. And then with the knowledge or other skills that I developed by reading over and over again, I think it really worked. So, and that is how I started writing a textbook.
Okay. Okay. Super. And then, okay. So, what made you choose this, topic to write? Any story behind it?
Yes, yes, it's a good. Actually, this is something that I think, I for myself, I think I'm happy, and I must say that, because this particular subject, this logistics is, I mean, a lot of people, when you really read that word, the term, they think that it is not belong to them,
Hmm.
because that word actually has denotative and connotative, two kinds of meanings that has. So uh, so it people, today people only see that literal meaning of logistics actually. So what happens is, logistics came into the social world, or rather the business world, from the military.
Okay.
Because actually it's something that, logistics, basically the real, the meaning, that if you take the denoted meaning, basically you do something using the minimum number of resources to
Oh,
derive the maximum output in
okay.
a strategic manner. So
Okay.
that strategy, what we call logistics. But now
Hmm.
people understand logistics is something to do with cargo, freight, transport, that kind of a thing. So
True.
that is why I say that is the usage meaning kind of a thing. So when you really see it in the market, or rather in the commercial world, you understand something like that. You handle cargo or people with transport. This is what you understand. But how it came into this kind of the usage is that, It goes with transport. Now, when we teach this subject, we teach it as logistics and transport. So, if you take up a degree, it is a Bachelor of Science honors degree in logistics and transport. And if you go for a master's degree, it is logistics and transport. And if you go for a PhD, it is logistics, transportation planning and logistics management. So this two goes together. So why is that? The transport is basically a kind of an operation. So there is hardly any. It is a kind of engineering thing basically, and of course, up to the end, it is an operation. But that operation alone cannot give the real benefit of transportation. That is why people got this logistics into transportation. So when it becomes logistics and transportation systems, that strategic part that is coming out from the logistics is giving adding and value to transport systems. So this is how it goes together. So this the problem is that when you really say logistics, as I told earlier, a lot of people, readers, think it is not for us. But if you really take that its connotative meaning of it, it is something that you do in a proper manner. And for this the usage meaning, what we do is we have made use of that for transportation. And in military, what happens is, why the military came into the picture is that the business people, the
Hmm.
commercial world, they gradually found out in the last 50 years, they gradually found out this logistics and transport operation is basically the initially the transport operation is a very complicated thing. And it became very very complicated in the last 50 years with this globalization and this e-commerce coming into the picture and all that. Then they wanted the strategies to be incorporated in the transportation systems. Then they just had a look at how the military people do these things when there is a war. Now in a war, the situation is totally different. It's really a risky situation for people to travel around, go there. There is no vehicle to go, and people are firing on you and various things. So it is a risk thing. But the military does it.
Yeah.
They take their the ammunitions to the war front. And when there are people who have got the shutdown or something, then they have to bring them back. They have to take the medicine to them. The food has to be supplied. So all that is being done while the war is going on. So
Okay.
then the commercial people thought, I mean, if we just study how they are doing it, we can use that in our commercial world also, because
Okay.
it is also to something to do with supplies, transportation, then handling of inventories, warehousing, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So all that is happening in the military in a different, difficult, complicated situations.
Okay.
So then they started learning from them, and
Hmm.
those things they gradually start applying.
Okay, good, great. So, so now that actually we have come to know what logistics mean in true sense, like how you have said that, it's more related to we more people more related towards the transport, the logistics and the
Yeah,
associated with transport. We
yeah.
actually until today even I don't know the actual meaning of logistics. So, so it was very clear when you said it. So, okay,
No, but no.
so
I mean, basically for you to understand its
Mm.
relevance, the best thing is now think about this COVID situation.
Yeah.
Now, after this COVID situation, then only you realize when you go to the supermarket, you find some empty shelves.
Yeah.
Up to now, up to that time, you didn't realize that.
No. No.
Then you think back why it has happened after COVID.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
Yes.
Because logistics.
Mm.
So as long as the shelves are full, you don't worry. But
True.
now when it is empty, you have to be worried. Then you must think why it is worried, why it is empty now,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Good. Okay. So when we are talking about logistics and everything about in and around about logistics, who are the target group of people who this book best suits?
Yeah, this particular book actually, really what happened was, by after realizing the value of this particular subject, because in Sri Lanka we started teaching this subject at university level somewhere in 2007, as I remember. So then we realized that getting enough students to follow this degree, initially that was a problem, because the same problem, because people were not aware of this particular subject, so they were reluctant to follow a degree which they are really not aware the basics. So then we thought that the best way is to vertically integrate this particular subject with schools.
Okay.
So in 2017, after basically 10 years, we managed to take this subject to school curriculum.
Mm.
Then only this problem came, because in the university we taught this subject in English. The syllabi was in English, and the exams were it's in English, and there were enough books in English for logistics.
Yeah.
But when we really took it to the government school curriculum, then it is the national language, what we call Sinhala.
Mm.
So then the teachers started complaining that they don't find enough books to read for them to get ready for lessons at schools. So
Okay.
then only this book started writing. So as to answer your question, this is actually addressed initially addressed to school children. Then
Okay.
we thought that even with university graduates, we have the same problem, because when you are teaching a difficult subject in English language,
Mm.
the English knowledge of all the students in a class is not the same.
Yeah.
So they were more comfortable in studying it in their national basic, their mother language, so that we used to explain them certain things in Sinhala, our
Mm.
national language. So then I thought, why not, since we are writing this book, why not you advance it to that level also. And then we wanted to integrate that with, because we are following something called vertical integration of the university subjects, that is from school to the university, from the university to the industry.
Mm.
So the knowledge we are integrating vertically, so that
Yeah.
the those who are in the industry, actually they have the roots in the school, learning the same subject at a very low level, and those who like that area will come and study that in the university level, at the university level.
Yeah.
And then they advanced to the industry in the same kind of discipline. So
Okay.
we thought of writing to make it useful for all these categories.
Mm.
So but that has been a challenge, basically, because there were two challenges. One is that in the industry, whatever said and done, we use English terms for this particular subject. So therefore, if you write it, the everything in Sinhala, that is the national language, sometimes when they go to the industry, this will not be useful sometimes. So
Mm.
then we wanted to amalgamate both, and then actually that was one of the advices by my president, who's invested on this the project, and they were the publishers actually. Captain
Okay.
Ajit Peer is he is my president. So
Okay.
that he gave me an idea. Why not, Lalit? You give the English words also along with that, so that it will be useful for everybody.
True.
So it took a long time for me to do that part. I mean, almost 1.5 years I took for that, but I think it's still worthwhile because I introduce an index at the end of the book. It's about more than 1,000 words index that gives the single English words, and I put it in English alphabet
Okay.
so that industry people can refer to the English alphabet and go to the Sinhala word and get the real meaning in Sinhala for better understanding.
Amazing. So that was a great work, actually, to address both the sections of audience. So it was very well done. Also, when we are talking about, I mean, was my question. Next question, if I could ask, you have almost answered the question, like why was it written in the national language?
Yeah.
So and going a little deep into the book, so logistics, talking about logistics part of it, what are the different the content that you have covered, or else different elements or subjects that you have covered in this book?
Yeah, well, there are, again, I mean, you will, no, you said that you got the real meaning of logistics
Yeah,
today. And,
true.
I'm telling another thing. I'm sure that you are not aware at the moment, right? But after I explain it, you will get to know. But that also something that you have been using in your life. I think you would
Oh,
have heard this supply chain.
oh yes.
Yeah, you would have
Mm,
heard very much. So
yeah.
the supply chain is the second generation of logistics, right? In a supply
Okay.
chain, what you have is
Mm,
you have different people, different players in a chain,
so, yes.
where in the transferring from one party to the other, then there you get the logistics taking place.
Mm,
So in a chain, what happened is you have couple of rings. That is what you call a chain,
yes.
right? So at the place where you connect one ring to the other,
Mm,
so that connectivity is what we call the logistics,
logistics, exactly.
right?
Mm,
So to have the supply chain working for you, for your benefit, to the
mm,
expectation of your demands, then that the joint has to work properly,
yeah.
should be very strengthened very well,
Mm,
right? So that is what you call logistics. So that logistics part you have to handle very carefully, otherwise you cannot have a proper supply chain. So although the second generation is supply chain, you cannot just go to supply chain without knowing logistics.
yeah.
So
Great.
what we really did was, after basically about 3 years back, we started our the degree that we started first time in Sri Lanka by Sinec campus where I work, where I head this particular department. We started this supply chain management degree first time in Sri Lanka, but still, we teach them logistics first, and then they come up to the supply chain, because to work for this supply chain. But to tell you the other thing, the third generation is already in place now,
Yeah.
right? That
Okay.
is supply network.
Hmm.
So what we really now today at very top level, what is happening is that supply network management. Because as I explained earlier, now in a chain, what happens is, unless you complete the first one, first ring, the second ring you cannot operate,
Yeah.
because it is a chain.
Yes.
So unless you complete the second ring, the third cannot operate. But
Exactly.
But today, the people are not willing to wait for somebody.
Hmm.
Everything is very fast now,
True.
all instant.
Instant,
I
yes.
mean, to some extent, this was jeopardized during this COVID season. But
Yeah.
we were in a thinking pattern that we can't wait for anything.
True.
So that mind, we still have it. Although even with COVID, people don't want to stay at home. They want to come out and do their things, right?
Exactly.
Although this is deadly disease, but they are fighting to come out. So that is the instantly you need lot of things to happen. So and that the new the techniques like the blockchains and all that, right? Now these things, what happens is, now you can't wait for a chain action, so you
Hmm.
go for a network where if you don't get it from the previous person, you have hundreds of other people to get it from, because
Okay.
you are working with the network, not with the
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah.
But all these chains, you still have that connectivity, that is the logistics. So
Hmm.
without logistics, you cannot operate any of these things. So
Exactly.
whether you have now upgraded to the second generation of supply chain, or whether you
Hmm.
have upgraded to a third generation of supply network, you
Yeah.
still want logistics. So
Exactly.
teaching logistics and learning logistics still valid.
Exactly. So, like how you said, it was pretty clear now when you've explained it with supply chain management. Like it's now that I clearly understood where exactly we use logistics. You have clearly like how you're being called a professor, so you know very well to explain to put it up in a proper manner. So
Right.
initially it was about what is logistics in true sense, and now where it is used. After we
Yeah.
got to understand both of them, it's now clear. It's now clear in my mind.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. Okay.
Right.
So yes, so now we have talked more about logistics and things like that. So okay, so towards the closing end of this session, what one piece of advice you would love to, give to the present society?
It's a very, very valid and very good question, and I really appreciate that question uh, because now we are old generation, right? Our life will end up very soon, so that it's the next generation that they have to take these things up.
Yeah.
So but there are still things that we can deliver until we die. So
Hmm.
my advice is that although we think that the the current generation is has have everything, but there are things, there are gaps still. Now, for example, when I started writing this book, only I we realized, because I wrote this book with the help of a lot of other professors in this subject. It's not
Okay.
only my knowledge. You cannot write a logistics book alone.
Yeah.
That is for sure. It's so huge,
Yeah.
so huge. I
Hmm.
got involved with about almost 28, industry corporate people and professors involved.
Okay.
They really helped me, although it's authored by me. The
Hmm.
knowledge is, they contributed a lot. So one professor, who is senior to me, when I checked with him about the transport sector, because you cannot do logistics without transport. So when I want to have the second chapter in transport, the question that I ask, this is how we academies are, getting information or getting knowledge. We just ask, Professor, what is the theory that you use there? So
Yeah.
when he give the term of the theory, then we refer it and then we understand it. He doesn't have to explain the whole thing to me, right?
Yeah.
Then I ask him, I'm writing this chapter now. What are the theories that you are using in this? Then he
Hmm.
said, well, to my knowledge, we don't have a theory.
Yes.
He was mentioning that the only theory that I can remember is the Newton's gravitational law.
Okay.
After that, I have not heard anything. So then
Okay.
then 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 I realized that we have a problem with our students in the university, that when they do research, I have found certain gaps. So then I
Hmm.
realized this is the gap. They don't
Hmm.
have conceptual frameworks to do their
Hmm.
research because there is no
Exactly.
theory. So
Okay.
this book is introducing two new theories
Hmm.
to the world. So that is why I thought of having this again translated back to English, because I wrote this book in Sinhala because there are no books in Sinhala.
Okay.
There are enough books in English, but now
Hmm.
after writing this 486 pages book, then
Hmm.
it was proved to me that this is introducing two theories that is not in English books.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a science book now. So then I'm trying. This is needed in English.
Hmm. Good. Great. Thank you so much, Professor. That was very, very insightful for people like us, especially, I think most of us, because we were thinking logistics is a very minor part of it, but then now I understood it's
The
the most
logistics is
important.
everything. Yeah.
Everything. It's probably the
Yeah.
most important,
Yeah.
from the industry to the customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That plays a very vital role, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, like me, many of you are now clear what is it all about, and where it is exactly used. And I think you can, having known its importance, now
Yeah.
like people will choose this category in their education, and then yeah, like the importance is ever growing. Logistics,
Exactly.
it has become a
Exactly.
complete a
Yeah.
subject by
It's not a
itself.
dying. It's not a dying subject.
Exactly, especially in this globalized world, and
Yeah.
talking about the e-commerce everywhere, and even
Yeah.
after pandemic, it's even more like, every other
Yes.
situation, it is
Yeah. Yeah.
gaining its importance as a subject.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us, wonderful knowledge on that, Professor Lalith. So we are so grateful for you, and thank you for being in our show today. And
Right. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for giving this opportunity. I think those who are not not aware of this particular area. I think if
yeah,
they got this message, I think that is a wonderful thing from your side.
yes, wonderful. Thank you. We got the message, and I am sure everybody else got the message.
Right. Right.
Thank you so much. So,
Okay. Thank
ladies
you
and
very much.
gentlemen,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it from us today. So, I hope you have got the necessary information. Thank you so much for being a part of the show with us tonight, and see you all again next week with another great book and another great author. So,
okay.
thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.